Hi, Book 2. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it has been a while since I've done a review for an epic fantasy. I just literally finished the first book in the Bound and the Broken series of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. I have no idea how to get the first book to just show the cover. I guess I could go, fast forward or whatever, rewind it backwards, but I'm lazy. Last month in September, I talked about reading The Fall when we were on our trip to London. And I was disappointed by that because, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't poorly written with, interesting characters. It's just the fact that it felt so short. And I was expecting a little bit more, a little bit longer of a story. And kind of leading up to the events that the book was about. Because it felt more like a prologue than a novella. So yeah, I was a little disappointed, but I mean, like I said, there was nothing inherently wrong about it. It was just personally, I wish there had been more to it, more to the story. But the first book in the main series, the of Blood and Fire, made up for it. I'm not gonna hold that because it's just I can't figure out without rewinding it to go back to show you the cover. And as you all know, I still do not know how to show on the screen the images. But so the Fall was basically how this empire, the Lorien Empire, took over this world. And how, the Drelad, basically the Dragon Rider warriors had got disbanded, and all the dragons got killed off, all the living dragons, and, how, basically why the world is where it is in Blood and Fire. So we start in this village, the Glade, known as the Glade, with these three, our three main characters are these boys, Callan, Rist, and Dan, and they're good friends. And the book starts with they're having this coming of age, this big event coming up where this is going to be their moment where where it's determined their place in the world, if they're going to become men, if they're ready to lead their own families, protect and take care of their own families. And they have to basically go into the woods and live in the woods for the night and hunt for some big game to bring home. And it's like a big competition. And when Callan, Dan, and Rist fulfill that, something weird happens while they're, the animals of the forest start acting weird. They have a run-in with the bullies of their town, of the Glade, these kids that are kind of bullies to them, these other boys. And so things don't go very well. But anyway, Callan's father sends him and Dan and Rist into another town to run an errand for their father, and mostly everything goes smoothly until they have a run-in with some the guards of the Empire. They have a run-in with them, and who, they are already going after this group of people that, these rebels have this precious item. And Callan sees this fight between them and decides to get involved, and ends up enjoying the fight, even though he's told this doesn't concern him, and accidentally kills one of the soldiers trying to defend these other guys that he's made friends with. And they end up having, him and his friends, Dan and Rest, have to accompany these guys on their journey to get this item that they procured to another city. And things like don't go, and things just, the shit hits the fan. They're on the run, and you find out there is these three boys. Of course, there's a lot more. They are more involved than they care to be involved in this war between these rebels and the Empire. So it has a lot of familiar elements to, as I said in my update videos too, you know, a lot of fantasy. Like, there's elements that remind me, that give me vibes of Wheel of Time, but of course, but before you dismiss it, it does do its own thing. And because I know as soon as someone says that it's something similar to the Lord of the Rings or something, then all of a sudden people get like, how dare it copy off of Lord of the Rings? I mean, I enjoy Lord of the Rings as much as the next person, but it's, you know, it's hard to be completely original when it comes to fantasy. But anyway, but I digressed. I mean, I've talked about that before, and I don't want to go into that rant. So, but it does have similar feels to Wheel of Time. But then as the story progresses, it does its own thing and kind of turns some of those tropes on their head a little bit, like changes things. And of course, it has its own version of like a magic system. They call people with magic, you know, they call the mages the magic. They call it the spark instead of, you know, just magic. Which that kind of made me think of magic being like electricity or electrical charges or something. Or maybe I've been watching Agatha All Along, and I also, and you know, I watched a WandaVision, and the magic system between the witches, the different power, when the witches show their powers, it looks like electrical charges of different colors. And that's when I think when I hear the word the spark. Which is fine, that's not a bad thing. That's what I picture when they refer to magic being the spark. And there is a character that turns out that one of the boys has the spark. So I thought that was, and which kind of expected that. I had a feeling that one of the boys like was gonna have some magic or something, you know, and once they, you know, were like, because you had all three of them coming, and like I said, it does give me Wheel of Time vibes, the story in the, you know, and like in that one you also have, I mean, now that one has more than just the three boys. Wheel of Time has also these two girls that are part of their group or whatever, but in this one it's just three boys, and one of the, and once they you know, they revealed some, you know, that Callan was special, I figured one of the other boys would have something special about them as well. But anyway, I also really, I like once again, I am a sucker for Dragon Rider stories. I mean, I haven't read a lot, you know, but I will, you know, when I come across one that sounds really interesting to me, I will read it, I will get it, or at least put it on my list, my to be read list for the future. Like one of the series that I love, it's more of a middle grade series, and I think it's called Dragon Rider. And I cannot remember the author's name, but it's like Caroline or something. It's not a popular series, it's not a known series, but I know that I did hear that Murphy Napier had read the prequel series, or the sequel series, the first book in the sequel series, and she did a review, which made me happy because, like I said, it's a more indie book series. It's actually one that I got at one of the conventions. I don't know, it was probably at AwesomeCon when it was in DC, when I was living near DC. I think that's where I got it. And luckily I was able to get all 4 books, so I was happy about that. And no one, I have not, Murphy April's the only one that I've heard talked about this series, which I should, I should reread and do a review before, because I'm hoping to introduce my nephew to it when because he's 9 right now. He really likes reading, like, he's gotten to Harry Potter. So I'm hoping to introduce him to that series at some point. But he's still kind of young, and my sister is like, I don't want to, has told me that she doesn't want him to get into any more series right now. She wants to kind of slow down the series reading, which kind of frustrating because I also want to introduce him to Percy Jackson. But again, he's only 9, so maybe he's a little too young for Percy Jackson. But yeah, but I really liked that one. That one was really fun, and that one also included elves. And actually, the main character in that one was half elf. I can't remember. I wish I could remember. It's gonna pop into my head. It's in the middle of this review. But yeah, I really like Dragon Rider stories, and so as soon as I learned from Mike's book reviews that this is a story about a dragon rider, then that got my attention. That put this book series on my radar. So we mostly focus on the humans in this story, but we do get to meet the dwarves in the last half. So we don't get a lot of time with them, but we do learn, of course. The typical trait of dwarves is they're stubborn and hard-headed. So yeah, when Callan meets the dwarves, he's the only one who gets to meet them between him and his friends. He makes not the best first impression with them, and they, and it kind of looks at the idea of the pressure that's put under these young kids when they find out they're destined for something greater and they have all these powers. They get all these powers and have to leave their home, and their family gets sacrificed and everything. And it kind of looks at that pressure put on the character that all of a sudden has to become this heroic figure, and how you see this, like, Callan has a lot of rage in him, a lot of anger about this whole situation, and feels like he's being used and pulled in all these different directions by all these people because they expect him to be their savior now because he has been chosen for this great destiny, supposedly. Which, it's funny, there's they kind of do commentary for that as well on destiny, or prophecy, I should say, on the whole idea of a prophecy and everything. They kind of comment on that, and he'll comments on that a little bit, which I'm sure in the rest of the series they will explore that as well. We also have Callan as a sister, Ella. So I really appreciate that there was a female main character, not just the potential love interest, but they also have, like, female elf warriors that are females, although they're not as much involved in this book. I think it's only one, actually. I think the other one they're twins, so maybe they're both girls, I think. And then the dwarves are ruled by a queen. And she's kind of a bitch. But she's I think she's gonna grow. She's gonna be a fun character throughout the series, I imagine. Queen Kira. But we have Callan has a sister, Ella, and oh my god, I feel so bad for her. I mean, like, she's feisty and she's brave, but she's not a fighter necessarily, and she kind of gets put in the position where she might have to, like, be a fighter, like, defend herself, and doesn't have the skills, and she's put in this very dangerous position. But I'm hoping that as the series progresses that she will get stronger as a character and learn to be a fighter and gain the skills necessary to defend herself. Which is too bad because Callan doesn't know what's going to happen to his sister. He doesn't know if his sister is alive or not. Anyway, so let's see. Talk about, we mostly get the villains, the antagonists that work for the bad guy, like the Fade. The Fade is a really creepy dude. He's very sinister and kind of scary, and he's not even a dude. He's like a creature of some kind. Like, He's a humanoid looking, but he can't, he's like immortal, I think. Like, he can't die. So, and he's really creepy. And just, like, he made me nervous throughout the whole book. I didn't know what he was gonna do. And there's other characters that I liked. I mean, I feel like again, it's, I mean, I wanted to do this review because I feel like I haven't done any epic fantasy reviews, and I want to remind people that I'm a fantasy reader first and foremost. That fantasy is my first love, and I feel like I haven't done enough fantasy reviews in the last few years. But it's kind of hard for me to review because it's only the first book, and I don't want, and this is kind of why I did, decide that I kind of wanted to wait until I finished the whole series. But I have a bad habit of taking forever to read a series. Even if it's just a trilogy or a duology, I still could take a while. Like, I still have not read the last book in the, the Lycanus trilogy. I want to make sure I read it before the end of the year. Because there's already been a series that, or a trilogy that I've decided to, even though I liked it, the Vagrant God series, I kind of lost interest and have not bought the third book. I mean, I saw it finally came out, and I debated about, because I don't want to, all of a sudden there's so many other series that I want to start and get into. So I think what I need to do from now on is not buy the first book in a series, like wait until all the books are out. Or if it's a series or a trilogy, maybe get it on Kindle first. Like, do the Kindle option and then come back to, especially if it's a long one. But anyway, again, I'm getting off track. So let's see, what else can I say about Blood and Fire? So this was just really good. I had such a good time with this. And I definitely excited to explore more of all these different kingdoms, and I really hope we get to, like, maybe see where the elves live as well. I really liked, the only elf I feel like we really got to know is Theron. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I really liked him, and he actually felt like, he was really, there were times where I had to be reminded that, wait, this dude is actually an elf, because he kind of gives more human vibes. And like I said, when I was reading, I kept thinking of that character, I can't remember his name, in Wheel of Time. It's kind of like the bard of the group, where he's out, and I can't remember his name. He made me think of him. Maybe that character inspired Theron a little bit. But Theron, except for that character from Wheel of Time is a little more grumpy and kind of bitter, I think, from what I remember. Because, days of old have gone in Wheel of Time, or should I say, the wheel has spun again in that series. But, like, Theron gives off vibes of that, like, bitter, and he actually, who he reminded me of? He also reminded me of Aragorn a little bit. Aragorn. I keep saying Aragorn, not the character from the Inheritance series, but Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. He made me think of Aragorn, where that, like, very like, kind of a loner, but he knows a lot about the past, and he's been around for a while. He's a character that you kind of feel, sympathy for, because he's seen so much, and he's, like, a little bitter, but he tries to keep a heart that's lighthearted, and still enjoy his life and everything. But he felt like a human male. So the bits, moments when Cahill reminds us that he's an elf, I'm like, oh wait, yeah, he's not human, he's an elf. But I did really enjoy his character. I hope we get to know him more as well. And as I said in my last update, I am worried that there are other characters that are come between the three boys, especially the one who has the spark, because something happens to him, and he gets separated from the group. But anyway, which is all I'm gonna say. I don't know. That's the other thing. I don't know how much I can say. This is one of the problems why I'm not good at reviews, because sometimes, especially with these big fantasy books, I don't want to spoil. But then I feel like I inevitably spoil at least a little bit. So, anyway, there's also there's also giants in the book too. So, and I feel like we don't have a lot of stories with giants, you know. The only ones that come to mind where we get, well, although I think there are giants in Lord of the Rings, but they don't play as big of a part, I don't think. Maybe not. I don't know. I can't remember if the giants in Lord of the Rings or not. But of course, there's giants in Harry Potter. With Hagrid being half giant. And then there's also giants. I'm trying to think of I don't know what's the other. There's another series. Oh, not a series. Roald Dahl in the BFG is the big friendly giant. So there's giants in that world too. In fact, giants are the main magical, mythical being in that world, because that world is all about giants. That world that Roald Dahl created in the BFG. But so I feel like there's not a lot of fantasy stories that focus on giants as main characters, and there is in this book, which I liked that giants are playing a bigger role in the story. I don't know. Hopefully, we'll meet more giants as the series progresses. I was just thinking there was another book that had giants in it. Oh, not a book, but there's the series. There's Ella Enchanted, has giants in it. And then there's, of course, the infamous Jack and the Beanstalk story. And they recently and then a few years ago, they made a movie about Jack. And then, of course, because, Once Upon a Time is, about fairy tales, so there's giants in that there was giants in that show. So there are some giants, but but it's not just, but I feel like there's still not enough stories where the giants play a main role in the story. So, not that the first giant we meet, plays a main role. He's still kind of a secondary character, but he does play a larger role, pun intended, in the story, which I really liked. And then let's see, what else? The fight scenes were pretty good. Never really good judge of fight scenes because, I'm not an expert. I don't know what's a good fight scene. I just know which ones I enjoy. I can picture what's going on, and, it's all exciting and stuff like that. What else? I'm trying to think of, what else did I like? I loved it. It's just, again, it's hard for me to, especially because it's just hard for me to review epic fantasy books in general. Let's see. I don't know what else I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. It was fun. I already have the second book on my Kindle, so I will be reading that soon. I don't know when though, but either sometime this month, or it might not be until November when I read it. We will see. But the rule I've set for myself is that I need to get the books I've read down to where I only have 2 books that I haven't read before I buy any more Kindle books. That's the rule I've set for myself. So I've read 2 books from the ones I bought, which start the fall of Blood and Fire, so I just have to read 5 more books, I think, or 6 books, I think. I think. Well, anyway, not that matters to you guys, but yeah, I wanna get it down to where I have 2 unread books before I buy any more. So I'm gonna read at least quite a few of them before, because I want to try to get them done before the end of October, so I can buy The Exorcist. But anyway, I don't know what else to say. I just really enjoyed it. I had a good time. It was a really fun series, and so far, I enjoyed the world. I enjoyed the great characters. I definitely want to know more about all of them. And I am looking forward to seeing like all the dragon rider stuff. And oh my god, I love the dragon. We do meet the dragon in this, and he's so cute. I really like the dragon. Seeing dragons in stories I just get so excited. Seeing dragons. I mean, I wish dragons were real so I could have a pet dragon. Although I wouldn't have enough space, I would have to live out in the country to have a pet dragon. You know, because there's not enough space in our neighborhood to. I mean, I guess it could be like when people have pet horses and they don't live on a farm, but if they have a pet horse, they stable it somewhere else. So I guess it would be the same thing with a dragon. You would have to stable the dragon somewhere else if dragons were real. But yeah, it was good. It was really fun. And I will be reading, like I said, I will be reading book 2 soon. So, that was A Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. So if you liked my review of that book, then please give this video a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you haven't already and you want to get more of my videos. Especially, if you want to be notified, you can click the bell icon to, and I hope you are enjoying your reading, and I hope you read that. If you are a fantasy reader, epic fantasy reader, then I hope you check out this series if you haven't checked it out already. It's been around for a while. Like, I think Ryan Cahill's published all the books, I think, including some books in between each of the main books. And I would love to know what you're currently reading, even if it's not that. And I hope your spooky season is going well. Right. Thank you. Bye.